remember the same time last year, 2019, we were talking about Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff taking over both Raw and SmackDown Creative respectfully. And everybody got excited. I got excited. You got excited. People in the WWE universe got excited because we were so hungry for change. We wanted change. We know the shows aren't good. We needed change on Monday and Friday night. Now, we knew then and there that these decisions made to include Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, which did not last at all, lasted about 2 weeks. And then he was released from his duties as executive director of SmackDown on Fox. In comes Bruce, my good old buddy Bruce, to run SmackDown on Fox. So now we were looking at Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard running the creative side of things in WWE. I said it then. This is merely a way to make stockholders, shareholders, people who have invested money in the WWE, a means to make them happy at the end of the day. That's all it was. Vince put Paul Heyman and Bruce Pritchard in these positions without naming them in front of his shareholders as a way to show them that he's actively trying to make the product better. Actively coming up with excuses as to why retention is at an all-time low, ratings are at an all-time low, attendance is at an all-time low, interest is at an all-time low. I said it then. I knew why he did it. And to add the cherry on top of that obvious shit Sunday back in 2019, I said they will be gone from their positions in record time. This is a temporary thing for Paul Heyman. What happened? It actually ended up being exactly what I told you it would be, a temporary thing. Why would anybody get excited about Paul Heyman taking over Monday Night Raw? When you all know whatever happens on Raw isn't a Paul Heyman thing. It's always a Vince McMahon thing. Vince McMahon's gonna show you he changes, or show you he wants change. You might see a little glimpse of change on the show. But in typical WWE fashion, in typical Vince McMahon fashion, in the same way he treats his superstars on the roster, just substitute the roster for creative. It wasn't working with the old guard. Whoever was in that position before Paul Heyman, a figurehead, so to say, even though he's not running the show, he's a figurehead to the public that runs the show. Just like everything else in Vince McMahon's world, he gets bored of it. Whoever was in that position before Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon got bored with them. They went right back onto the toy shelf. In comes Paul Heyman. Oh, he's fresh with ideas. He's new. He's hip. He gets the young audience. He gets the young crowd. Let's get him in there, and then I'll shill him, not by name, to the shareholders. That's exactly what happened. Now I sit here in 2020, and I sit here pretty much in the same month that it happened last year, and I'm here to report not that Paul Heyman is taking a bigger role on Monday night, but in fact, Paul Heyman has been removed from Monday Night Raw Creative. Who is his replacement? You guessed it, folks. Good old Bruce. Bruce Pritchard is now overseeing both Raw and SmackDown Creative on Monday and Friday night. And if you think this is a good idea, man, oh man, you should fucking stop watching the product altogether. You are the exact reason why the product is in the shithole that it's in right now. It has been. Paul Heyman's influence did nothing. Paul Heyman's desire to push new talent did nothing. Bruce Prichard has been a proverbial yes man to Vince McMahon for 27 years. And who do you think took that job like that? A yes man. So instead of getting Monday Night Raw or a new vision of Monday Night Raw on Monday night, folks, you're going to be getting the Vince McMahon vision written by Bruce Prichard because nobody understands Vince better than Bruce. So what you're getting is Bruce writing the show Vince McMahon wants as he yeses himself to death. I hate hearing shit like this. I really do. I really do. This was expected. This was expected from day one. I'm not surprised by this whatsoever. What I really feel bad about is the actual talent that put their faith and their hope and their dreams into Paul Heyman, only for him to be removed, and now they are right back at square one. When you seen Ricochet and Cedric Alexander and Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza and Austin Theory and Andrade all going down with the ship one by one, you knew the captain had jumped off before any of them decided to. Paul Heyman's influence on Monday Night Raw has been long gone. And if you don't think that is the case, you ain't watching the same show that I'm watching. Paul Heyman was not let go of his creative duties as of yesterday when the story broke. Paul Heyman has already been out of his creative decision. You could go back to the beginning of the fucking year when Shayna Baszler didn't win the Royal Rumble. Right then and there, Paul Heyman, done. Done. I don't understand how people are looking at this show and not actively raising hell every single Monday and Friday night. Where are all the fucking people who are watching this shit along with me on Monday and Friday night, doing the same thing that I'm doing Monday and Friday night? Where are your voices? Where are your complaints? Up and down the show, weekly, where are they? Why haven't you raised your voice to the WWE machine to actively change what they're doing? Why do I feel like I'm fighting this battle alone? No, but you want to sit there and sugarcoat everything knowing that it's bad and getting excited over a Paul Heyman Monday Night Raw. That was never there. It was never there. The mirage of Paul Heyman was exactly that. Paul Heyman and Bruce Prichard. They were the guys that started this thing, and now we are one man down. As far as creative goes in WWE, it's gone back to doing the same thing as always. It's a Vince McMahon-run operation. WWE makes massive creative changes. Paul Heyman out, Bruce Prichard in charge of both shows. WWE's announced on Thursday that they are streamlining their creative teams for Raw and SmackDown. Instead of having two teams with Paul Heyman and Bruce Prichard leading them, WWE will have only one creative team for both shows. How is this going to work? You mean to tell me you're taking the SmackDown team that has absolutely no idea what's going on with the Raw team, that has absolutely no idea of the talent that Monday Night Raw has, and you're taking them from Friday, putting them on Monday, and you're asking them to write shows for talent that they have no idea about? You're thrusting them into a program with several different talents that you have no idea what the story is, where the story's going, what's developed in the story thus far. But you think that's a good idea. Bruce Prichard coming over from Friday hasn't been doing a good job at all. So I don't understand why you're expecting change on Monday if Friday is so bad. Surprisingly, Bruce Prichard is going to be in charge. Did WWE even have a backup plan if they wanted to get rid of Paul Heyman? No, they went right for the one guy who's going to yes them to death, and that is Bruce Pritchard. Paul Heyman was never a yes guy. He would fight tooth and nail about the talent that he feels needs to be on the show, as if Paul Heyman doesn't have an idea about what talent is in WWE, or who needs to be pushed, who's been suppressed, who's been held back, who's been sitting in catering for 6 months and deserves a fucking opportunity after realizing they were there for 6 years. This is the full announcement from WWE. Sounds like somebody really thought this one out. How do we be as political as possible while explaining that Paul Heyman is out of a job now in creative because Vince McMahon clearly didn't like his ideas? In an effort to streamline our creative writing process for television, we have consolidated both teams from Raw and SmackDown into one group. Led by Bruce Prichard, Paul Heyman will concentrate on his role as an in-ring performer. So when exactly is Paul Heyman going to concentrate on his role as an in-ring performer? Brock Lesnar ain't due back for another month and a half. Brock Lesnar works a part-time schedule. He'll be there for SummerSlam. He'll work SummerSlam, take off for Survivor Series or until Survivor Series, take off from Survivor Series, show up at the Royal Rumble, build something at the Royal Rumble for his WrestleMania opponent, and then take the entire spring and summer months off. But Paul Heyman and his influence is only as good as Brock Lesnar's advocate. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Did you even give this guy an opportunity to change Monday Night Raw? And in the 1 year that he was in that position, we don't even know if it was a full year because he was just named as a scapegoat for when things go bad. That's exactly why Paul Heyman was there. He was named as executive director. How many months legitimately has Paul Heyman worked as executive director on Monday Night Raw? I'm going to make the logical guess of 0. 0. Vince spoke. You didn't think you thought I forgot about this one, right? You didn't think I was going to bring up this fucking golden nugget. Vince spoke at the Q1 earnings report with shareholders about Raw's recent drop in TV ratings, saying that it would take time to turn things around and that he trusted that their patience would be rewarded. This is exactly what he said, folks, word for word, lying to shareholders. There's no audience. It's a different show, a completely different show. And I think we're going to get there. While we may be able to take this negative and already turn it into somewhat of a positive, as far as ratings and what you are concerned about, SmackDown has virtually been with no change, very little. No change. SmackDown was generating a 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 when there were live audiences. Now they're down to a 1.9. What fucking change are you looking at? Clearly there's change, and it's a downward spiral. Lies. All lies. Raw has suffered, but not necessarily because of the environment. It suffered because we bring in a lot of new talent, and to Raw, it takes a while for these new talents to get over. End quote. Then he goes on to say this one. We no longer have Brock Lesnar, obviously, but we have a new champion who he didn't mention by name, Drew McIntyre, and a lot of new performers coming in. So it takes a while. So that's the reason and how you use those performers in this story or that story or what have you. So with new talent, it's just going to take a little while. I'm convinced, though, that Raw's ratings are going to bounce back considerably. End quote. Did you even give Paul Heyman and Monday Night Raw and the roster an opportunity to bring the ratings back to where you want them to be? Maybe it's not the roster. Maybe it's not Heyman. Maybe it's the way that you neglect talent on a weekly basis. Maybe it's the fucking storylines that you have put out there that people just genuinely do not give a shit about. Maybe it's the fact that Monday Night Raw is 3 fucking hours and you people can't even write 1 good hour of television, let alone 3. Why don't you look internally at the people actually running the show and point the finger of blame not at Heyman, not at Raw, not at the roster, but at yourself? I'm sorry. There's one man in this creative decision, and that is Vince McMahon. He's the one who ultimately wields the fucking godlike hand in WWE. He is Jesus to these people. He's the Messiah of pro wrestling. It goes through him. Every single decision that is made in that company, creatively, on both shows, goes through Vince. How have you not decided upon yourself that is the way things are done? Why are you such a blind sheep? This is why I laughed when people were like, oh my God, I see change on Monday night. I see change on Monday night. This is the Paul Heyman influence. And I'm asking where? Where? Because you're seeing a nugget of something different on the show? Vince McMahon just let Paul Heyman have his little moment in the sun for about 15 minutes on the show. Or he was like, oh man, this is great. This is new. This is fresh. I haven't played with this toy in forever. So it was looking like Vince McMahon was enjoying himself. And then he got bored. Seeing all the new talent on the show and the fact that the talent on the show is not what Vince McMahon looks at when he looks at new talent. Paul Heyman was put in a position as a scapegoat for when things go bad, Vince McMahon can lay the hammer of blame. And that's exactly what happens. Paul Heyman is out, Bruce Pritchard is in, and when Bruce can't fix it either, what do you think is going to happen to Bruce? Right back to Conrad. Right back to Conrad Thompson. It's coming. Bruce Prichard thinks he's sitting pretty, but now he's got to write both Monday and Friday. But who really is writing both Monday and Friday? Bruce will be safe as long as Vince McMahon, which we know, is writing these shows, and Bruce is over there in the corner. Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, boss. Can I get on my knees and suck your cock, please? That's an excellent idea. I love you. It's exactly what he's going to be doing in the fucking corner. Now, one creative idea is coming out of Bruce Prichard, and if it does, it's going to be a rehash of something that is risque to maybe get people talking on SmackDown, but that really doesn't lend itself to being a new creative idea that is fresh and exciting. Moving on here. We don't have Brock Lesnar. It's exactly what he said. The reason why the ratings are down is because we don't have Brock Lesnar, as if Brock Lesnar was a ratings draw anyway. Give me a fucking break. Brock Lesnar was such a big ratings draw, I don't really look at the Raw ratings going from a 1.7 to a 1.9 and then labeling Brock Lesnar a ratings draw. People actually got tired of Brock Lesnar being on the show because of the way you handled him in the championship situation. You went right back to the well one too many times. Our talent's not getting over. Let's give it to Brock. We'll give it to Brock and have him be a monster, and then whoever takes it off Brock is going to be a superstar. How many guys legitimately can be put in the ring against Brock Lesnar and come out better for it? There's a very select few that actually that motto or that mentality works with. So before you know it, you're going to be out of ideas and out of roster quickly. They went right back to the well one too many times, and now that well is dry. You went with Reigns, you went with Rollins, you went with McIntyre, and then to subsidize that, you went with the smaller guys, because everybody knows Brock Lesnar works better with the smaller guys. Yeah, we'll have him have these great wrestling matches away from the typical Brock Lesnar mentality of, I'm the beast and I'm going to squash everybody. Let me suplex this guy 16 fucking times and have a 3-minute championship match at our biggest show of the fucking year. So they put him in the ring with a Daniel Bryan, an AJ Styles, a Finn Balor, a Ricochet, whatever the fucking case may be, just to kind of show you that they're doing something more with Brock Lesnar, but it did nothing for those guys. It was either a one-off match because of your shitty fucking creative, brand versus brand garbage, or Ricochet, in his case, Vince McMahon did it because he needed a good laugh in Saudi Arabia. 90 seconds. That's exactly what Vince McMahon thinks of Ricochet. His main roster career was dead in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, everybody criticizing me, oh, JD, it's fresh, it's new, why don't you just be positive a little bit? He's gonna get over. Buried. Absolutely fucking buried. Like a bug. Squashed. This is the same guy we were looking at in NXT a year before, saying that this guy is the next world champion, the next AJ Styles. He's the next loser in Vince McMahon's eyes. It's exactly what it ended up being. So no Brock Lesnar, clearly that's the reason why the ratings are down. Patience. Vince McMahon patience lasted a year. A year, if that. Like I said before, we don't know how many weeks, months Paul Heyman was actually in charge of Monday Night Raw. I'm going to say 0. In comes Bruce Prichard. So Monday, we will get the first glimpse of the Bruce Prichard era. It's funny, man. I go on these little tirades and I throw out Bruce and I accentuate his name. Where's Ali, Bruce? Where's Naomi, Bruce? Now we can add that to the fucking list of names. Where's Bianca Belair, Bruce? Huh? Where's Ricochet and Cedric, Bruce? Before you know it, we'll be asking where Aleister Black is. Bruce, right back in the fucking broom closet. He's got the right idea. Pour me a shot of bleach. It's funny how I accentuate his name and blame him for the shit happening on SmackDown, and then they make this fucking clown the creative writer for both shows now. It's like they're fucking teasing me. It's like they're fucking doing it on purpose just to piss me off. Oh, JD doesn't like Bruce? Yeah, well, we'll put him on Monday now. He'll have a field day with that one. WrestleVotes. WrestleVotes, one of many who talked about this. Regarding the creative change, sources indicate that Raw has been a mess lately. Lately? Raw's been a mess for years lately. The fuck are you watching? At times recently, the show has changed up to the point of going on the air and the show still being written. So please, I'd love for you to tell me where this Paul Heyman era actually showed face. Never. This was the report that we got every single week in 2019 on Raw and on SmackDown. Vince writing the show as the show is airing live on the USA Network, or Vince ripping up his script 3 hours before the show and writing it all himself. What has changed? What has changed if WrestleVotes is getting texts and emails from sources in the company saying exactly the same thing that Vince was guilty of last year? What has changed? Nothing but the names and faces. And then it revolves around the same fucking problem. Vince is the pimple on the tip of your nose as you go to prom. That big fucking pimple that makes you look like Rudolph. That's the fucking problem. If you eliminate the fucking problem and pop that motherfucker, you'll be on your way to having a successful show. That does not happen. That will not happen. That did not happen here. Vince was always in control. That's the problem. So, obviously, the same thing has been happening, and you could watch the show and realize that that is happening. I am on here every single week dissecting this show better than anybody that does what I do. Anybody. The logic gaps in this show are bountiful, but nobody sees it. Oh, Monday Night Raw was a better show. Monday Night Raw is a great show. Monday Night Raw was a 6 out of 10 this week. I should give you 6 fucking slaps right across the face. Better show, 6 out of 10. 13 ups and 1 down. What the fuck are you watching? Now, granted, SmackDown is absolutely abysmal. But Monday Night Raw, even at its most terrible, is better than SmackDown on a weekly basis. That's just because SmackDown is rinse and repeat. They got nobody over there doing anything. And I actively came out the last 2 weeks, not this last week, but the weeks before that, the last 2 weeks before that, and said SmackDown actually had a direction. Why was the show given direction? Because the IC title tournament gave the show direction. It's easy to build on a show that is 2 hours on a weekly basis, knowing that you got this foundation set via the tournament. And now that the tournament is not taking place anymore, we got one more week tonight with Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship, which I'm hearing is a match of the year candidate tonight on SmackDown. How many commercial breaks are going to be integrated into this thing? I'm going to say 5. But after tonight, even last week, even tonight, which we haven't watched yet, where's the direction? What are they going to do on SmackDown? What are they going to do now with Bruce writing both shows, being overwhelmed with Monday night, coming over to Friday and writing for that show on Fox? How long before we get this brand-to-brand invitational being blown out of proportion, even more so with Bruce on Monday? Who's to say he doesn't go over to Monday night, take a liking to a talent or four, and bring them over to SmackDown and rinse and repeat? We're right back in the same boat. We're right back in the same boat that Monday Night Raw was in, floating down a sea of shit in 2019. This will be a vicious cycle, folks. A vicious cycle. WrestleVotes tweeted out, the show was being changed up until the point of it still being on the air. While the blame isn't solely on Heyman, he is the one taking the fall here. Scapegoat. He was hired just like Bischoff. When Bischoff was hired, I said it in the initial video. Him and Heyman are being hired because Vince will never take the blame for anything. Vince is the master of putting people ahead of him so that when things go wrong, he can place the blame. He gives them executive duties. He gives them the power to, in the public eye, do whatever they need to do to make the show better. Because you're not supposed to know Vince McMahon's in charge of the fucking show. Vince McMahon's just the CEO. He handles the financials. He should have a whole nother fucking team writing these shows creatively, but that's not the case. Vince is not the mastermind you think he is. Vince is a micromanager, and micromanagers are the fucking worst. I worked for a bunch of micromanagers, and the fucking likelihood that you last there beyond a year is very unlikely due to their micromanaging fucking tendencies. The one thing you want to do every single morning you come to work and you know you work for a micromanager, you want to kick them right in the fucking face. Bro, shut the fuck up and let me do what I gotta do. I cannot operate with you peeking over my goddamn fucking shoulder, telling me what to do. Why did you give me this position to begin with if you were going to do it anyway? Save me the stress and let me go back to my fucking bullshit position and just sit there. So WrestleVotes continues. It couldn't continue like this was an exact quote that I got. It couldn't continue like this. Couldn't continue like what? Raw's been presenting itself in the same way for how long now? I could go back to 2017. This show has been a creative mess for 4 years now. So it couldn't continue like this. Now, you come up with this. It couldn't continue like this was an exact quote. What exactly does that mean? It couldn't continue like this in 2019, couldn't continue like this in 2018, and it couldn't continue like this in 2017. And every single year, the show has gotten worse. Now, PW Insider, they actually spoke about this as well. And they reported that a source noted to them that Vince McMahon has recently been very upset and openly frustrated with Raw. Oh my God, Vince, I am so sorry that you're frustrated with Monday Night Raw. Imagine us watching at home how we feel. Does that factor into your frustrated feeling and the fact that you're very upset? Give me a break. Now, with WrestleVotes, there's no word yet on what led to this change, but it's no secret that Vince McMahon has been under a lot of pressure to get the ratings back as they've dipped during the months of the pandemic with no fans in attendance. Yeah, great. So what I'm trying to figure out now is, why would you let Paul Heyman go now? Even though he probably didn't factor into anything on this show, outside of a recommendation here and a guy I want to push there, or a storyline gauge here, how we get from point A to point B, maybe to point C. That's about it. That was the extent of Paul Heyman's influence. Maybe talking to the younger guys and calming them down. Maybe some of them feel jaded. Maybe some of them feel frustrated. And Paul Heyman's over there in the position that he's in. And clearly everybody respects Paul Heyman and his body of work. So what are you going to do? Not listen to Paul Heyman and not find any hope in what Paul Heyman tells you? A master bullshitter. He's a New Yorker. The fuck are you going to do? Not listen to him? He could sell fucking ice to an Eskimo. I'm sure he could. So there have been a variety of reports suggesting that the decision has been coming for a while, but that several Raw stars are still very upset by the news. Of course they would be. Why wouldn't they be upset? particularly younger stars who Heyman is known for trying to give the spotlight to. However, many people weren't shocked at all to hear this news, with one person telling Wrestling Observer, "I am shocked it took this long." Everyone knew it was coming. Vince did not like Paul. Vince did not like Paul. I don't know to what extent he didn't like Paul. Clearly, he likes Paul enough to continue giving him a job with Brock Lesnar, because if that was truly the case, he wouldn't have a job with the WWE. Or is it Vince didn't like Paul because Paul was doing a better job and Paul was giving better ideas to Vince McMahon than Vince McMahon could come up with? Was that the case? Paul Heyman was doing a better job at running Monday Night Raw and giving input to Monday Night Raw and coming up with creative ideas on Monday Night Raw better than Vince McMahon could. Is that the reason why Vince didn't like Paul? Vince didn't like Paul because Paul was doing a better job than Vince McMahon and stepping on Vince McMahon's toes. That's exactly why Vince didn't like Paul. And when we change that mentality, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown will be better off for it. Until then, continue. Continue watching this show, and I guarantee you, you will gradually see it get worse and worse and worse. Now, a WWE source told WrestlingNews.co, a WWE source told them that Heyman did not quit, and this was a decision made by Vince McMahon after expressing frustrations with the Raw ratings. Does Vince realize we are in the middle of a pandemic? You know, the CV-19 is still out there. It is still a thing. There are no fans in attendance. You don't have the proper setting to really gauge what is working and what is not. You don't have the right setting for people watching at home. They don't want to watch your show in the middle of what is going on right now because you have failed to really bring them happiness. You know, I watch this show, I feel more depressed than anything. This show is supposed to take away all of that sadness and all of that worry and stress. And for 2 hours, 3 hours on Monday and Friday, I am supposed to watch this without a care in the world about what is going on around me. And when I watch Monday and Friday, I am more frustrated. I am more stressed. I am more sad about what is going on. Not only with the fucking world today, but with the actual product. They're not even trying. You aren't even trying at that point. Why would somebody want to watch Friday and Monday knowing that it is so micromanaged and so overproduced to a point where it is physically impossible to watch? Look at the NXT talent on that show. And I mentioned this once before. Look at the NXT talent on Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday. And then look at AEW Dynamite. Now, Dynamite, listen, the entire aspect of Dynamite is watching rabid fans in an arena, jam-packed 5,000-6,000 people in an arena, and bringing life to that show. When you watch that show, you look like you're watching the best wrestling show on the face of the fucking planet. They could turn nothing into something. That is the power of the fan. And by watching that, when you see that, you become hooked. You become excited. What is this? It turns something that is mediocre into something great because of the crowd reaction. When you watch Dynamite, yes, that is absolutely missing from AEW. But man, oh man, they have gone and done a better job at producing these pandemic shows than WWE could ever dream of. Their roster actually comes off as if they enjoy being where they are and enjoy being around those that they are employed with. Meanwhile, WWE's got these poor souls standing for hours upon hours upon hours, and then obviously it sounds like they are given cues on who to boo, who to cheer, when to cheer, what to cheer, and the energy levels is so depressing that I can't watch something like NXT on Wednesday night. It looks like those people are being fucking forced to stand there and cheer. They don't want to watch something that they know they are being put in a position and they're not even appreciated for it. Why would you want to sit there and watch a product that they even know is complete mediocre garbage? WWE doesn't let them go out there and really be the fans and the aspect of the missing fans. They don't allow them to go out there and do that. So what does Vince McMahon want? You're going to blame Paul Heyman or anybody, really, You're going to blame someone or something on WWE shows not being where he wants them to be? This is beyond your control. Stop acting like God. You are not anywhere in the area or the fucking vicinity of what the Lord and Savior is. You're not even the Lord and Savior for pro wrestling. You're looked at as Satan himself, who doesn't give a shit about anything or anyone around him unless it benefits you. So they spoke to a source in WWE. Heyman did not quit. The decision was made by Vince McMahon after expressing frustration with the Raw ratings. Another source told them that McMahon is more involved with Raw than SmackDown, and that made Heyman's job much harder as he had to push harder for ideas while trying to keep McMahon happy. This is completely the opposite of what we thought was going to be. SmackDown is on Fox. SmackDown is on the bigger platform. Why isn't Vince McMahon on Fox on the bigger platform? How would Fox take this news that Vince McMahon is giving more input and having more influence on Monday Night Raw than the $2 billion or the $1 billion that they have paid for the WWE product or whatever the fucking amount was? How would Fox take to that news knowing that Vince has actively been more influential over Monday night on the USA Network than SmackDown on Fox? I know if I'm shelling out that type of money for a product that I know is complete fucking garbage, I would be fucking pissed. I would be pissed. Now, why does Vince McMahon need to oversee Paul Heyman on Monday night? Paul Heyman has clearly been around this product, and Paul Heyman has been around these talents more so than Bruce Pritchard has. Even though Bruce Pritchard has more seniority working for Vince McMahon, he had to come in and get himself affiliated with everything again. So why aren't you overseeing the guy that's been out of the loop for so many years? Why are you overseeing the one guy who knows what they're doing? I don't really understand that. So please explain to me how you're looking at this and finding this to be right. This is nothing more than a huge mistake. Now, he was been involved with SmackDown he's not been involved with SmackDown, and he's been involved with Monday Night Raw a little bit more so. Meanwhile, Bruce Prichard on SmackDown is said to be more in line with what Vince McMahon wants. Clearly, you could watch Friday night and see that it definitely lines up with what Vince McMahon wants, because I can't remember. I can count on one hand how many good shows SmackDown has had since October. One hand. That's Vince McMahon's influence. Trash. Mediocrity. Of course, Paul Heyman is going to get shit on. Bruce Prichard yeses him to death. So of course that's the case. So Bruce Prichard is on SmackDown, said to be more in line with what McMahon wants. The evidence of this is the Jeff Hardy angle. It was reported on Wednesday by Sportskeeda that Friday's SmackDown will include a controversial segment that is basically a rehash of something they did in 2016 with Shawn Michaels. McMahon was very hands-on with the 2006 angle with Shawn Michaels. McMahon was very hands-on with the 2006 angle that is being redone this week with Jeff Hardy. What they are doing with Hardy is more in line with what McMahon wants, while Heyman has been pushing to get more younger talent moved up the card. So that's that. Are you surprised by that piece of information? I'm not. Over the last several months, Heyman has attempted to give pushes to names like Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, and others to only have McMahon step in after a few weeks with the edict given to bury them because he doesn't see them as top stars. SmackDown ratings have done better than Raw, but defenders of Heyman's work on creative have pointed out that Fox is a bigger platform than the USA Network, and you can't create stars overnight, and ratings would have eventually risen after the pandemic and after fans have gotten accustomed to the younger stars. I was told that McMahon has been frustrated with NXT ratings as well, but right now, it doesn't look like there are changes coming to NXT on the creative side, but there has been talk of using more talent from Raw and SmackDown on that show. Brock Lesnar is expected back in July or early August to build for SummerSlam, so that is likely when fans will see Heyman back on TV again. It will be interesting to see what WWE will be like moving forward. Maybe we'll get loads of controversial segments that fall in line with pushing the envelope a little bit, risque, kind of low blow segments that Vince McMahon has absolutely no pity showcasing on his shows to draw up interest. Like exactly what we've seen with Jeff Hardy in the DUI and what we're about to see tonight with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus via their contract signing. What's going to happen with Lashley, McIntyre, Black, Garza, Andrade, Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, the Street Profits, Buddy Murphy, Humberto Carrillo? What's going to happen to all these guys that have been such a huge presence on these shows, or on Raw? All these weeks, what is going to happen to them? Are they going to continue being showcased, or is Vince McMahon going to shuffle things around via Bruce Pritchard and have his vision kind of come into play? We don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens on Monday night. Now, the backstage reaction to removing Paul Heyman from Creative on Monday Night Raw is something that Dave Meltzer talked about during his stint on Wrestling Observer Live. And he mentioned this in the newsletter this week, that McMahon's mentality about everything changed once CV19 started. The XFL was supposed to be a long-term play, and it was expected that they would lose a lot of money over the next few years, but McMahon decided to fold up once CV19 shut everything down. Raw was also supposed to be a long-term play, with the idea that the ratings would go up eventually as fans got accustomed to new stars coming in, and Paul Heyman continued building those new stars over months and months. Meltzer noted that now the mentality is to worry about now, even though the company is on track to have their most profitable year in history due to their TV contracts. McMahon was reportedly frustrated because he believed that the new talents, with the exception of a couple of them, were not getting over. The reality is that it's hard to know who really is over if there's no actual fucking fans in the arena. All he has is social media, and that is not even an avenue I would really gauge as far as who's over and who's not. So I don't understand his mentality that guys were not getting over. How could you really gauge who's over or not when you have no fucking life to these shows? How could someone get over when you're constantly taking them from a week-to-week basis for 2 weeks, making them look, oh my God, they're being booked strong, and then the next 6 weeks after that, every single one of those guys that you were pushing suffered a loss or has been off of television? How could you actually establish new stars if there's no consistency in the writing of your show? So I really don't understand why he's so upset when he should be upset with himself for not doing what needs to be done. This does not even rely on Paul Heyman. This is a Vince McMahon thing. If Vince McMahon is overseeing how these shows are written by Paul Heyman, then he should let Paul Heyman do what he needs to do to get these talents over. Instead, he's taking what Heyman is writing or giving him as far as ideas, changing them to fit his narrative, and then he wants to blame Paul Heyman. What a shitty fucking way to go about doing things in WWE Creative, really. Now, Meltzer noted that from the reaction that has come out of WWE, from what he was told, there have been signs for weeks that things were not going well between Heyman and McMahon. Many of the wrestlers were said to be stunned by the news that came down on Thursday. It was also noted by Meltzer that the joke backstage was that Heyman built SmackDown nearly 2 decades ago around the SmackDown 6, and now he was building Raw around the SmackDown catering crew. There is a reference to names like Andrade, Zelina Vega, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Apollo Crews, who are on the SmackDown side. They were not being pushed high on the card and oftentimes would be brought to TV only to sit in catering. Imagine being one of those names and hearing that from WWE management. Yeah, 20 years ago, Paul Heyman built the SmackDown 6. And now he's trying to do the same thing on Monday Night Raw instead of the SmackDown 6 with the SmackDown catering crew. How fucking disrespectful. If you're Andrade or Aleister Black or Buddy Murphy, what are you thinking of when you hear that? That's a slap in the fucking face. That is the most blatant way you could possibly ever conceive that WWE doesn't give a shit about anybody on their shows. That is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Fightful reports that the reactions to Heyman's firing as Raw executive director have been all over the map, The general consensus is that nobody knew about it until it appeared on their Twitter timelines. It was reported that a variety of reactions came out concerning Heyman's firing. There is a sense of general disappointment and surprise from some. Others saw this coming. Others indicating that they could see the writing on the wall as of late. It should be noted that nobody we've talked to said they knew the change before WWE announced it on Twitter. As it was noted yesterday, like I mentioned before in this report already, Heyman will continue as an on-air performer when Brock Lesnar is around, only to be on TV when Brock Lesnar is there. Bruce Pritchard will be handling the creative for both Raw and SmackDown, with creative teams from both shows getting consolidated. Awful. This is absolutely a terrible situation, folks. I don't know. I don't know what else to say to you and tell you on top of what I've already stated. The only thing I could think of, and the one line in that entire thing, is the fact that management and people in the back and people higher up looked at Paul Heyman and made a running joke about what he was doing and who he was pushing on Monday night. He took the SmackDown 20 years ago, made it work, and now he's trying to do the same thing again, but this time he's using the SmackDown catering crew. Why were they in catering to begin with? Why were they in the positions that they were in before they got moved to Monday Night Raw to begin with? It all starts with management. That's not Paul Heyman's fault. Paul Heyman was in a position to fix what you fucked up. And then you're blaming him for using talent that you've neglected. Talent that you actively employ and pay weekly not to use. You know, I'm looking at the Vince McMahon thing, and I'm looking at the Bruce Prichard thing, Vince being the senile old man, and I'm looking at him refusing to change his ways. He puts people in front of him to take the fall so that the blame doesn't go to him when we all know he's to blame anyway. He lies every single conference call to all of his investors. He lies to you and I every single week, every Monday, every Friday. We know nothing is going to change. In fact, with Bruce writing these shows on Monday and now on Friday, it's going to get worse. Because you're not going to see what Paul Heyman wanted us to see. We barely seen it when Paul Heyman was there. Now we're definitely not going to see it. So what happens to all the talents that we got accustomed to seeing? What happens to the Buddy Murphys and the Austin Theories and the Andrades and the Angel Garzas and the Apollo Cruzes? What happens to them? You know, there's no camaraderie in the WWE locker room. Shawn Michaels got into an argument. Now, granted, it was about what's happening in the world climate. But the general statement was that everybody is equal. Nobody is equal. In real life, in WWE, there are some people who think that they're better than others. In WWE, absolutely nobody is equal. Nobody is equal. If you look at the current situation in WWE, and you look at that statement, I mentioned on my NXT review, look at what Kevin Dunn told main roster talent. Look at what he said for them, or to them, as a way to address the NXT talent. They're NXT recruits. Meanwhile, a good handful of these people have been on NXT television, and WWE makes you believe that NXT is a legit third brand. But in every which way, you got Randy Orton coming out and saying that they're not doing a good job, and you got Kevin Dunn pretty much eliciting the fact that they're nothing more than recruits. But yet I'm supposed to believe via WWE's verbiage on TV, when a takeover happens or when they're integrated into the main roster or when someone gets called up, that NXT is the place where they all go to become WWE superstars. And now they got a legit Wednesday night spot on USA. I'm supposed to believe that they are an equal to Monday and Friday. And it's anything but in the eyes of management. So they're NXT recruits and not NXT wrestlers or NXT performers. They're recruits. A recruit is much different than a pro wrestler. They're on two different wavelengths. A recruit is for someone walking in for the first time, learning the ropes. Some of these people have been on TV for months. They're nothing like a recruit. So right then and there, that statement that everybody is equal is thrown to the fucking shithole in WWE itself. There's no camaraderie in this company. WWE wants to push who they want to push. Nobody is looked at as an equal. They come in and they're blatantly disrespected. They come in and they're given a spot and you either take it or you don't. Go somewhere else. You're going to do what we say, when we say it, how we want it to happen. There's no camaraderie there. When you look at Roman Reigns, I look at Roman Reigns and his position on WWE TV when he's there, and we all know that he's the golden child and WWE wants to push him more so than anybody else. But you look at Roman Reigns, who is a real locker room leader. The camaraderie is there. When you look at Roman Reigns and you look at how he thinks of himself on WWE television, everybody that is in that locker room, that he's sharing a locker room with, he looks at as an equal. And the best example for me to tell you guys about Roman Reigns and the point I'm trying to make is look at what he did with Buddy Murphy. Daniel Bryan is the same way. Daniel Bryan had a match with Buddy Murphy last year on SmackDown. Roman Reigns had a match with Buddy Murphy last year on SmackDown. If you take a Braun Strowman and put him in the ring with Buddy Murphy, would Braun Strowman do for Buddy Murphy like Roman Reigns did for Buddy Murphy? No. There are two types of people in the WWE. The one that management wants in Roman Reigns, and one that will be a Braun Strowman or a Charlotte Flair and act better than everybody, and that is going to be looked at by WWE management. But the difference is, with Roman Reigns, look at what he did for Buddy Murphy. Roman Reigns can go out there and pretend he is the best ever. He's the number one guy. This is my locker room. I'm the guy that they want on TV. I'm the one who's going to take the throne from John Cena. But he doesn't act that way. WWE may push him and be portrayed that way. But Roman Reigns, when he's in the ring, look at what he did for Buddy Murphy. He was Buddy Murphy's equal. He did everything in his power to get him over, knowing that was his one opportunity and he may never see it again. Daniel Bryan did the same thing. I raved about the Roman Reigns-Buddy Murphy match. Roman Reigns didn't have to go out there and put over Buddy Murphy in 15 minutes the way that he did, but he did. Braun Strowman wouldn't do that. Braun Strowman would not do that at all. There are a ton of guys in that company that would not do that. Daniel Bryan did it for Buddy Murphy. And the point I'm trying to make is there's no camaraderie in the WWE. There's no camaraderie in the WWE locker room. There is no equality in the WWE locker room. And it starts at the top. There are some people going to break out of that mold and some people that are going to break out of that shell and do what they need to do to make the show and make the company better, make the talent better. But that is very few and far between. WWE is on the Braun Strowman side of things. They are the ones dictating how it should be done, where it should be done, when it should be done, who should be doing it. WWE does not create a sense of camaraderie in the WWE. WWE does not create a sense of equality in the WWE. WWE wants to push who they want, and they want to do things the way that they want. Meanwhile, it's actively destroying what we see on Monday and Friday night. Everyone in that locker room should be considered equal. And until we get to that point, these shows and the talent are going to be far worse off than we could ever imagine. There is no equality. Everybody on that show is about to get a very fucking rude awakening. You thought you had an opportunity now with Paul Heyman being the guy who is hip and involved and knows the world's wrestling climate. Now your show's being written by a 60-year-old Bruce Pritchard, overseen by a 74-year-old Vince McMahon. Please tell me where you expect change. Please tell me where you expect equality. Please tell me where you're expecting camaraderie in the company. All the higher-ups in that company do the opposite of camaraderie. They like who they like. They want who they want. They push those that are in their eye. Everybody else, I don't know why. Hard work is not respected. Hard work will get you nowhere in WWE. Not in Vince's eyes, not in Bruce's eyes. Vince wants what he wants, and Bruce doesn't have a mind of his own because he's a mindless fucking puppet. Until camaraderie happens throughout the WWE and everybody is seen as equal, then nothing will change. Seth Rollins should be no better than a Buddy Murphy or an Aleister Black. Everybody should be working on the same page to help everybody else out to make the show better than it is now. You cannot have your set of guys that you want to push without pushing the others that need to be pushed. Then you're going to have a complete show that's off the tilt. You're going to have something up here and something down here, and you'll never get anybody over. Nobody will ever be presented as a big star. Nobody will ever be looked at in the eyes of the fans as somebody that they want to see. You can't have a winner every single week and a loser every single week. You got to have everybody here with the storylines integrated to make everybody stand out. You need to invest in these people. Right now, there is no investment. So when Paul Heyman has been removed from Monday Night Raw Creative, or when he was removed from Monday Night Raw Creative, did I bat an eye? No. I seen this happen last year. I'm surprised it took this long to do the job. Now, where do we go from here? What talent is going to suffer? What talent is going to shine through? Are these shows going to get better? Are the ratings going to increase with Bruce Pritchard there on Monday night? What happens if they don't? What happens if they don't? Because Bruce Pritchard right now is operating under a nameless title. He's operating under the faceless suit and tie moniker. Because he's no better than Vince McMahon. It's as if Vince McMahon has a mini-me clone. So if the ratings don't go anywhere and the show doesn't get better, who's Vince going to blame? It's like looking into the mirror. He's going to be blaming himself because that's exactly who he wanted in the position. Bruce Pritchard is who he wanted in that position. Because he knows Bruce is going to write the show that Vince wants. Word for word is what I told you last year. You could go back and research it for yourself. During this entire, Paul Heyman is now named the executive director of Monday Night Raw. Not only is Paul Heyman a scapegoat, but Paul Heyman will never be looked at. And that you could put in the boat of why Vince McMahon didn't like Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was a scapegoat for when things go wrong, Vince has someone to bring the hammer down on. But he looked at Paul Heyman as somebody that is very rebellious. Vince McMahon could never leave Paul Heyman in charge to write Monday Night Raw, because if he does, Monday Night Raw actually might resemble a good show. Paul Heyman was always the type of guy that wanted to do things on his own, push who he wants, and have the show revolve around his ideas. That didn't happen. Vince was never going to leave Monday Night Raw solely in the position of Paul Heyman. Vince was never going to walk away from Paul Heyman and Monday Night and let him do things on his own. He's let Bruce Prichard do that on SmackDown while he's had a major influence on Monday Night Raw. Why is that? Because Bruce Prichard writes the show exactly how Vince McMahon writes. Paul Heyman was never going to write the show the exact way Vince McMahon wants. That's the reason why Vince didn't like Paul Heyman. Vince was never going to allow Paul Heyman to succeed because Vince looked at Paul Heyman as somebody that he could never leave in charge on his own to do what Vince wanted. Paul Heyman was always going to do what Paul Heyman wanted. So again, I ask, when Bruce Prichard inevitably fails and Monday Night Raw gets worse and the ratings continue to tank, who is Vince McMahon going to blame? You're running out of people to fucking point the finger of blame at. Now you're looking at somebody exactly like you. You've molded somebody for this position that is pretty much Vince McMahon Jr. So what happens then? Are we going to be blaming Bruce Prichard? Or are we going to be pointing the final finger of blame at Vince McMahon? Get over yourself when you think Monday Night Raw is making proper change. The only proper change that will ever happen is when Vince McMahon and everyone on his yes team is removed. That's the only change that I'm looking forward to. Oh man, we are going to be needing a ton of my friends over at Blue Chew, not only on Friday, but now on Monday, man. When you got Bruce running the operations on both nights now, Blue Chew's gonna come in handy, believe me. You're gonna need it. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, remember when you guys were always ready to go? The days of you always being ready to go. What happened? Oh, that's right. You watched an episode of Monday Night Raw operated by Bruce. Now you guys can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. BlueChew.com. That's like the color blue clowns like SmackDown. But I don't want to associate SmackDown with Blue Chew here. I want to get you guys ready to go. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis. You guys can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever the opportunity arises. You'll be giving your wife the Velveteen Dream experience. If you guys could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. Blue Chew is prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor's office or wait in line at the pharmacy, and it ships right to your front door in a very discreet package. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy, and best of all, there's no more awkwardness. Right now, everybody listening to Off the Script today, I got a special deal for you. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use promo code JD. All you guys have to do is pay the $5 shipping and handling. Again, that's BlueChew.com, code JD to try it for free. It is the better, cheaper, and faster choice. And make sure you give your wife or your girl or whoever your partner is the Velveteen Dream experience with Blue Chew. And I want to thank them for sponsoring Off the Script. The SmackDown rating dips below 2 million. Good job there, Bruce. What happened, bro? Are you taking this below 2 million rating to Monday Night Raw? So what could we expect on Monday Night Raw, being that your show is already sinking lower and lower every week? Could we expect a 1.7 down to a 1.5 on Monday? Oh, man, I can't wait. Tune in to find out. I'll be right here waiting to shit all over your fucking illogical creative on Monday night. I can't wait. Now, the ratings on Friday. Last week's SmackDown was entertaining to a point because Sasha Banks finally won a WWE Championship. Can't wait to see what they do and how they ruin that. So her and Bayley won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. That was the main event against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. They won the Tag Team Championship. Apart from that, fans also saw Jeff Hardy and Sheamus get into a brawl, leading to a backlash match between the two, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So we got all of that happening on SmackDown. Despite this episode, with Sasha Banks and Bayley winning the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, SmackDown drew only 1.984 million viewers on Fox, according to Showbuzz Daily. This is really bad news for Vince McMahon, being that he just moved Bruce from SmackDown to write SmackDown every week, but also write Monday Night Raw. And McMahon is not happy as of this week, as I've already documented here on Off the Script. And it's just a terrible situation, man. It really is. That is down from 2.170 million viewers the week before. Now, last week's episode of SmackDown drew a 0.5 rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic, a 0.7 rating in the 25 to 54 demographic, and a 0.4 rating in the 18 to 34 demographic. This was also the second lowest viewership on Fox since the show moved to Fox last October. Awful. Absolutely awful. I love it, folks. I really do. Outside of the listen, honestly, outside of the Bayley and Sasha Banks title win, I don't even know what happened on the show. I don't. Lacey Evans and Sonya Deville battled again. Mandy Rose got involved where Lacey Evans gave Sonya Deville the loser's right. Outside of that, nothing happened. Really nothing happened. Sheamus belittled Jeff Hardy again, etc., etc., which leads me to Jeff Hardy on SmackDown this week. Now listen to this. This is the big thing coming out of SmackDown tonight at 8 p.m. Jeff Hardy involved in a controversial angle set to take a piss test during the contract signing for his match on SmackDown tonight with Sheamus that will take place at Backlash. So Jeff Hardy is going to be forced to take a piss test to wrestle Sheamus at Backlash on Sunday night. Now, Sportskeeda is reporting that there will be a big segment. In fact, WWE kind of confirmed this already on social media. There will be a big segment on SmackDown with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus ahead of their match on Sunday at Backlash. The report states that their face-to-face contract signing, mind you, there's no championship on the line. They're doing a contract signing for a standard one-on-one match that management should be approving at this point, being that Sheamus set up Jeff Hardy in a fake DUI. Just throwing that out there. A contract signing that will be one of the most controversial contract signings in WWE history this Friday. The segment will reportedly have them meet in the ring with Renee Young as the moderator, and Hardy will be confronted by a man in a lab coat with 4 security guards. Are they giving him a CV test? That's what it certainly sounds like. No, folks, Hardy will reportedly be accused by Sheamus of being a junkie. Hardy then will reportedly accuse Sheamus of trying to ruin his life. Sheamus will ask for assurances before their big match on Sunday. Sheamus will ask Hardy to take a urine test because he doesn't want to step in the ring with a junkie, and he knows that Hardy will fail the test. As the segment continues, Hardy will reportedly admit that he does have a problem, just as Sheamus declares that Hardy must immediately take the urine test. The segment will end with Hardy throwing the urine sample in Sheamus' face. WWE, if you recall, did a segment like this back in 2006 with Shawn Michaels, where Vince McMahon told him to take a urine test. The segment concluded with Michaels throwing the urine in McMahon's face. So, let me get this straight. You're rehashing a storyline with Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus in 2020, back from 2006. So, Bruce Pritchard is rehashing storylines because he's so inept and untalented that he can't come up with his own new, fresh, and exciting storylines on Friday night. They got to rehash something back from 2006. So let me get that out of the way. Number 2, you're asking Jeff to take a piss test on Friday. Then the test will come back negative, I'm assuming, right? And then he throws it in Sheamus' face. So you mean to tell me that he's going to take a piss test, it's going to come back as negative, he's going to throw the piss in Sheamus' face. Why are we going the lengths of taking a piss test on Friday when the match is on Sunday? Who's to say Jeff doesn't show up on Sunday completely blitzed out of his mind? Who's to say Jeff doesn't show up inebriated on Sunday night? But he's taking a piss test now. Now, I don't know how long those piss tests take. They administer them and then they get the results back in what? 24 hours? 48 hours? Still. He could still show up on Backlash Sunday live and be inebriated, and Sheamus will be wrestling somebody that he labels a junkie. Now, granted, I already stated this on Friday, and the last 2 Fridays, I should add. I was all for this storyline because I thought it was something different. And that's how much we crave something different, because WWE hasn't done something like this in a very long time. It was something different to start the show. It gave the show direction. It gave the show meaning. It got them out of an Intercontinental Championship tournament that they knew they fucked up on. They booked themselves into a corner with the way that they set this tournament up. I appreciated the fact that they went outside the box and did something different. I don't like the low blow on Jeff Hardy's drug abuse because it's so soon after he came back. And he's still probably going through, what he's going through. He's not mentally strong. He's not mentally there yet. He could relapse at any given time. And here you are on WWE TV. Instead of actually building him up, overcoming all of that, you're bringing him right back into that doldrum and having him sink lower and lower and lower back into what got him in trouble in the first place. I was okay with it on Friday because of the freshness aspect. It was different from SmackDown standards, which are very low at the moment. But it also gave WWE an out of the tournament. And with Jeff Hardy, this was already concluded that Sheamus set him up. So it was a done deal on Friday, and we would be able to move on. But now WWE, instead of ending it on Friday, now they're just continuing it on this Friday and going to the lengths of having him take a fucking piss test to get a match with Sheamus at Backlash. I mean, I was with it, and now I'm not. Now you're just exploiting this guy's past bad behavior, exploiting his demons now willingly to sell a storyline that doesn't need all that. It doesn't need all that. Jeff Hardy's a fan favorite to begin with. Sheamus was built up as a monster before he set his eyes on Jeff Hardy. All you had to do was play the I'm being disrespected, and here you are with Jeff Hardy bragging about this guy coming back. I've been here all this time. Why aren't you showing me the proper respect, and why are you giving this guy more than you ever gave me when I first came back from a legit injury? That could have ended my career. That's all you had to do. But WWE is going in a way now where they're just exploiting everything that is Jeff Hardy's past for their own gain. And what is it really going to end up in? What is the result going to be here? Is it going to be Jeff Hardy overcoming his demons? Is it going to be Jeff Hardy getting redemption? He more than likely will beat Sheamus, but what happens next? Who's the next in line to exploit Jeff Hardy's demons? Is it going to be Bray Wyatt? Does WWE have any baby faces on that show to go up against Bray Wyatt outside of Jeff Hardy? What happens, and I said this, what happens when Jeff Hardy walks into the funhouse and his demons are exploited, his fears are exploited? Because that's what Bray Wyatt does. It's going to be rinse and repeat all over again. And then at that point, just like now, I'm asking where Jeff Hardy's redemption comes in. Is the redemption going to lead to a world championship? Is redemption going to be a fruitful WWE career, a final run in the company, and then the Hall of Fame? Or is a redemption coming when he leaves the company, goes and joins Matt Hardy in AEW, wins the AEW Tag Team Championships as the Hardy Boys, and that is his true redemption? I don't know. It's up for self-interpretation. But right now, WWE is doing anything but telling the story of Jeff Hardy's redemption. They're just that's all it looks like. They're exploiting Jeff Hardy for their gain because they are too lazy and uncreative to write anything new and exciting for the talent that they have on this show. They're going to dip into a storyline that is 14 years old. Who's going to get pissed at this tonight when we watch it? How many people are going to be shitting all over this on Twitter? I'm expecting a shitstorm when we see this take place on SmackDown tonight. They should be ashamed of themselves, really. I've had people tell me they're not going to watch WWE until whenever, just because of something like that. I had Jesse on my Dynamite review, my buddy Jesse on my Dynamite review, tell me that he is not watching SmackDown because of obvious reasons, but if they even wanted me to sniff SmackDown, I am not because of that. How many people are going to join him in that rebellious attitude and not watch SmackDown because enough is enough? Enough is enough. Controversy creates cash. I get it. But it's not really there when the culprit here in Jeff Hardy is having all of his fucking demons, which could have killed him, exploited for their gain, and he gains nothing. Give me a break. How many superstars actually want to leave the WWE? This was actually very entertaining via Twitter. WrestleVotes has sent out a tweet earlier this week asking fans to send in questions so he could get some answered by his or her WWE source. Among the questions already answered, one was about wrestlers that want to leave the company. It's no secret that some wrestlers have expressed that they are not too thrilled about working at the Performance Center during the pandemic, but they are continuing to work because job security reasons. WWE has told wrestlers that they are free to not work during the pandemic, but very few of them have taken them up on that offer. Clearly, you see what happened to Sami Zayn, and they don't want to end up like Sami Zayn. Now, others are just not happy with their spot on the card. However, the number of wrestlers that actually want to leave might be lower than you are thinking right now. According to WrestleVote's source in WWE, the number of wrestlers who want to leave is less than 20%. It's still a significant number, but perhaps not as high as some would expect. These are some of the questions that have already been answered by WrestleVote's source in WWE. Do you believe we will get back to live audiences before 2021? The answer was yes. Does the roster feel safe working at the PC during these times? Yes, although some would not agree. Percentage of the roster that uses marijuana in some form, 70%. Percentage of the roster that wants out of their contract, less than 20%. And I'm at a point right now where I could probably guess very well who those 20% are. Best sense of humor backstage, Big E. Most underutilized talent, Chad Gable or Bianca Belair, Bruce. Best dressed superstar, Montez Ford or The Miz. I'm not surprised by that answer. So Belair needs to be on TV. Chad Gable, more of. Ali, I want to see. We need to start setting things right in WWE. They could be the ones that want out. They could be part of that less than 20%. Chad Gable, Ali, Bianca Belair, they could be part of that 20% who want out. But I found that to be interesting just based on everything that we've talked about now Bruce taking over SmackDown. So I figured I'd throw that in there with the news of the day. Nikki Cross buys pizza for all WWE NXT PC talent at the latest set of tapings. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com tweeted out the following story last week, how he was told about Nikki Cross buying pizza for everybody at the last set of tapings. He says, and I quote, "I was just told a story by somebody talking about how great Nikki Cross was to the NXT extras after these last set of tapings. She bought them all pizza as a token of appreciation. What a gem." What a gem, he says. Yeah, because WWE didn't allow them into catering. WWE forced them to bring their own lunches to eat outside in a tent dedicated to NXT recruits only. Nikki Cross is a good human being. I can't say the same about the people that she works for. So that's that. Obviously, Cross appears to have taken a different attitude compared to WWE management, and reports emerged last week that the NXT talent and the PC trainees, the recruits, as he calls them, right? They were to bring their own lunches and were reportedly talked down to as children, or like children, over a PA system, which I reported about last week. So that was that, and Nikki Cross is a great human being. I wish the WWE would take care of their future like Nikki Cross is taking care of them. Sasha Banks reacted to possibly getting back to NXT to defend the Women's Tag Team Championships. You're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. Sasha Banks and Bayley could possibly return to NXT next week, following an announcement on Wednesday's NXT show that Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart will be challenging whoever the champions are coming out of Backlash. Now, Backlash, we will see Sasha and Bayley versus Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss versus the Moronics, the Iconics, the Moronics, the Idiotics, the Stuponics, the Get Off My TV Onyx. Let me drive to Flavortown to see what Guy Fieri is eating Onyx. You know, Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. So we got that match taking place. The winner of that match will go to NXT on Wednesday to challenge Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart. Now, I don't mind this at all because that is the aspect that we all love about the Women's Tag Team Championships. They can go from brand to brand. So this is not WWE forcing Sasha and Bayley on NXT because they are desperate for ratings. It fits into the criteria of that who hold the Women's Tag Team Championships. You're allowed to do this, so I'm not going to be looking at it as a desperation maneuver. Now, I mentioned on my Monday Night Raw review rant how WWE should go about taking Charlotte Flair out of championship contention and not having her feud with Asuka after Asuka disposes of Nia Jax on Sunday at Backlash. I said Charlotte Flair lost to Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley. She lost the championship on Sunday at TakeOver. Io Shirai is the new women's champion. And at that point, it would be best if Charlotte Flair was kept off of TV. She has nothing to do with the pay-per-view, so why is she on Monday Night Raw? Not like she has any bearing on the ratings, right? 5 times this year, Monday Night Raw has had the worst rating in the history of the show. When you look at the worst ratings in the history of the show, you're going to see 2020 at the top of the list 5 times. So please explain to me how Charlotte Flair is actually doing something to benefit the Monday Night Raw brand and the ratings. How is she adding to the ratings and reflecting well on the ratings? She's not. She's not. So why have her there? You don't think she would want a week off? You don't think Charlotte Flair would want a week off? What difference does it make if Charlotte is there or not? When she's there, she makes the show worse. When she's not there, the show is actually a little bit more, I would say, enjoyable to watch. It's less nauseating to me. Asuka and Nia Jax is the focus. But Charlotte Flair and Asuka seem to be a bigger deal than the title match that Asuka is in on Monday night. This is WWE Creative. I'm not surprised. Charlotte should have taken the week off, come back on the Monday Night Raw after Backlash. Out comes Bianca Belair. Charlotte Flair, instead of challenging Asuka for the Women's Championship, she should have been building up Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair should be the next in line to challenge Charlotte Flair. beat Charlotte Flair because Charlotte should be in a position to start putting over talent. Asuka disposes of Nia Jax. She builds towards a match with Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam. Shayna takes the title from Asuka. Shayna is the new Raw Women's Champion. Shayna versus Bianca Belair into the fall after the summer is over. Did I stutter? Of course I did. I know what needs to be done. Bruce doesn't know what needs to be done. I ask again, did I fucking stutter? That's what needs to be done. In the meantime, I said, Sasha and Bayley, what did they actually do on Monday night? They did nothing. They did nothing. You actually actively hurt them winning the Women's Tag Team Championships. You did nothing to embellish. You did nothing to build. You did nothing to spotlight and showcase the fact that they won those Women's Tag Team Championships. In fact, Charlotte cut a promo on them saying that whoever holds any championship except Charlotte Flair is a loser. Champions or not, you're both losers. So yes, thank you for actively talking down to the Women's Tag Team Championships. Miss Charlotte Flair. They did everything in that promo to just take away from Sasha and Bayley beating Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. So why were they exactly there? They didn't need to be there. They don't even need to be defending their fucking titles on Sunday night because Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross do not deserve a rematch. They lost fair and square. And then the Moronics, what the fuck have they done to get a tag team title opportunity? Oh, that's right, nothing. They got a tag team title opportunity because they just simply exist. So please tell me why Sasha and Bayley were needed on Raw and why they need to defend the Raw Tag Team or the Women's Tag Team Championships on Sunday at Backlash. Couldn't you have just saved them for Friday? Have them show up on Friday, tell them that, or have them go out there and cut a promo saying that they will show up on Wednesday and whoever wants to show up to challenge, we're actively putting these titles on the line. We welcome all challenges, shapes, and sizes. That's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. Now, what does WWE do? I said it. They should have bypassed Raw, come to SmackDown, and then show up on Wednesday and actively be put in a match against Shotzi and Tegan. Because that way, you get them on NXT. That way, they defend the titles the way that they were intended to be defended when they first had them last year. And it proactively starts the build for Sasha and Bayley as they inevitably split. But I said on Monday, they should be on Wednesday challenging the likes of Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez or Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart. So what is WWE doing? I hope to God that Sasha and Bayley win. Knowing them, they'll have the Iconics go back down there. That's not the match anybody wants. Sasha and Bayley versus Tegan and Shotzi. Where did you hear that one? Because I know I said it word for word on Monday. Either somebody's lifting my ideas and refused to give me credit, or WWE actually grew a brain and did something correct. I'm going to go with the first option. So Sasha reacted to winning the tag team championships and then possibly going back to NXT. So NXT tweeted out the winners of the women's tag team title triple threat match at Backlash will face Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox for the titles next week on NXT. Sasha Banks tweeted out, "You're welcome, Hunter," meaning Triple H. Hashtag legit boss, hashtag Backlash. So that's that. So thank you, WWE, for lifting my ideas. My PayPal email is in my Twitter account. I expect royalties soon. WWE could be introducing 2 new title belts or title designs. Speaking of title designs, the Women's Tag Team Championships, I don't even think they should be in existence, but WWE is now actively changing 2 current title designs. It was noted that WWE will likely release replicas of these designs to WWE Shop. They're actively working on revamping the NXT Championship and the United States Championship, held by Apollo Crews and Adam Cole, soon to be Karrion Kross, respectively. So that's that. So I don't really see a need to defend, or not to defend, but to change the NXT Championship. I love the design of the NXT Championship. The United States title absolutely needs an upgrade. So I'm all for that. I don't know what the NXT Championship could possibly look like Or I don't see why they would need to change that. According to the source, the NXT title will have the same design, but it's going to be bigger in size. If that's not a dead giveaway as to who it's going to. Adam Cole, who is currently the NXT champion, obviously just defended the title against the Velveteen Dream. And you got two people coming out saying they want a piece of Cole. Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. Keith Lee, I think, is the right choice. Karrion Kross, not so much. We'll talk about that tomorrow when we talk about NXT. Moving on here, man, with the rest of the news that I got for Off the Script today. Elias, he's out 8 months with a significant injury. Now, we know that Elias was involved with the Jeff Hardy storyline. Nobody knew how long he was going to be out, but he was in that situation because WWE found out that he had a legit injury and they needed to write him off of television. Dave Meltzer is reporting that Elias has suffered a torn pectoral muscle prior to this angle taking place, and that now he could be out up to 8 months with the injury, depending on whether he decided to undergo surgery or not. Meltzer says, and I quote, generally, that's close to an 8-month return, sometimes a little shorter with the surgery. Some don't have surgery. Those in WWE confirm the injury was legit, but we have no confirmation of a surgery as of this point. End quote. On the 529 episode of SmackDown, Elias was involved in a hit-and-run angle that started SmackDown with Jeff Hardy. This controversial segment was booked to write the one-man band, I should say, out of WWE TV for the foreseeable future. It was announced on SmackDown that Elias had suffered broken ribs and a torn pectoral muscle. It appears that part of that is true. Dave Meltzer is reporting that while the ribs are part of the storyline, Elias did suffer a torn pec. There's no word on when he picked up this injury, but Elias' last match was the first round of the IC title tournament over King Corbin on the 515 episode of Friday night. So that is likely where he picked up the injury. I don't know where and when in the match, but more than likely that seems to be the indication. So he is out. So what does that mean for SmackDown? It means nothing. Elias is out. Boo-hoo. Elias being off the show is going to make the show worse than it already is. Who cares? Hopefully he gets back and comes back sooner rather than later, because I never like to see or hear anybody being injured. But Elias is out. Are you going to cry a river of tears? Do you need a box of Kleenex? Let me go cut up the fucking circular that's in my mailbox right now. Kleenex is on sale, I believe. Give me a break. SmackDown's got more to worry about than fucking Elias being out for 8 months. Give me a break. The IC Title Championship Tournament is concluding tonight on SmackDown. Sami Zayn, someone who should be actively involved in the IC Title Tournament, he dragged the finals on Twitter. Now, while fans are excited to see Styles versus Daniel Bryan tonight for the IC title on SmackDown, there's still a big question mark over when they'll be able to unify the title with the rightful title held by Sami Zayn, who never lost the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn was stripped of the belts. They said he was injured, but WWE coded, meaning he didn't want to come to work during the pandemic and be a team player. Fuck Sami Zayn. We're going to take the title off of Sami Zayn, as if the IC title now has some sort of fucking importance and meaning to SmackDown, right? They showed you why the IC title was absolutely worthless as they come as far as titles, and now they want to pretend like the IC title is needed on SmackDown. We got a decent tournament out of it, but Sami Zayn never lost. So if Sami Zayn does not get involved in the finals of this tournament or after the fact of when you crown a fake champion, an interim champion, then you're doing it all wrong. Sami Zayn is obviously pissed. He had a few thoughts on the matter on Twitter. WWE tweeted out, this Friday, a new IC champion will finally be crowned as Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles go one-on-one. Sami Zayn tweeted at the WWE official account on Twitter, two guys who will put on a match that will no doubt be a wrestling clinic to prove once and for all who is the bigger fraud. Sami Zayn. Zayn going up against either of these two men would be great, but the story needs to be a take. And this is, again, I don't want to sound hypocritical here with Bruce taking something from 2006 of a piss angle with McMahon and Shawn Michaels. I mean, if they go back and do something as simple as this, the writing is on the wall. Take from what you had with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon in 1994, dueling championships in a ladder match scenario. I would much rather than go back and do something like that, which could still be great present day, than going to revise a storyline where Jeff Hardy throws piss in the eyes of Sheamus like Vince McMahon had piss thrown in his eyes from Shawn Michaels. Terrible. WWE needs to do the right thing. When Sami Zayn gets back, we need to see Sami Zayn involved, and we need to see him bring out the old Intercontinental Championship. How he gets it, I don't know. That's why you're on Creative. Have him bring back a replica for all I fucking care. Have him go on WWE Shop and parade around that he's the real Intercontinental Champion. Being that Styles and Bryan are fighting for the new Intercontinental Championship, maybe they had a new belt made. Meanwhile, Sami Zayn has the old title, and they have a replica of the title being on the line here. Who knows? Either way, have Sami Zayn go and buy a replica of the new title on Shop and have him parade around with the championship. Meanwhile, Styles and Bryan either one of those guys have the championship. That's on the line tonight. It'd be great. It would be a great storyline. Will WWE do it? Probably not. Because it's too easy. The writing's on the wall. They want to put as little effort into the show as possible. There you go. At least at this point, the effort will be maximum because it doesn't require effort. You're just taking from one storyline and applying it here. Little effort to get the best and maximum results. Now, there was a rumor killer on Brie Bella with the IC Championship. There was a claim being made last week on Twitter about Brie Bella supposedly spoiling the result of the Intercontinental Championship Tournament Finals. As previously noted, the finals tonight, Styles and Bryan, they were filmed a couple of weeks ago for tonight. According to several fans on social media, Brie Bella posted a photo of the Intercontinental Championship, and it has Daniel Bryan's side plates on it. Now, she posted this on Instagram. She took it down immediately, or Twitter, I should say. She posted it on Twitter, took it down immediately. The actual story of this is that Brie never posted the photo, and the belt was shown in this photo. It actually ended up being a replica, and the side plates are the ones that were used several years ago. Brie never spoiled the result of the match on her social media accounts. The image of the replica has actually been circulating on social media for the last week or so before the claims of the deleted tweet from Brie were discovered. Now, I don't know. I don't really know what's real and what's fake. Why would the old plates be on the new title? Why would she be posting anything, period? She's not even in the fucking company. Now, it could not have been the real championship. Maybe it was a replica championship with the nameplates on it, and she gave away the outcome of the match anyway, even though it may not have been in their kitchen and their title. Maybe it wasn't the real championship. Maybe she sent out a feeler that her husband, maybe she was so gleaming with excitement that her husband won the Intercontinental Championship that she had a replica just laying around the house, and it had Daniel Bryan nameplates on it out of nowhere. On their kitchen counter, in their home, on her social media accounts. I don't give a shit what Brie Bella did. I don't give a shit what the rumor is or who killed the rumor or what was spoiled. There's only one outcome here. Daniel Bryan winning the Intercontinental Championship. Because you got to tie up loose ends. You can't give the title to Styles because the title on Styles does nothing. The title on Bryan gives Bryan that fighting from behind mentality, defending that title weekly like he wants to bring the IC title back into prominence, and then clearing up the situation with Sami Zayn before he inevitably drops it to somebody else. Simple. Daniel Bryan needs to be the Intercontinental Champion, and I do believe Daniel Bryan will be crowned the new Intercontinental Champion. Now, the only thing that's throwing me off with that is that the fact that he's a free agent at the end of the summer. Does that factor in? Does WWE not give him the title and go with AJ because they are unsure of Bryan signing? Or does WWE give Bryan the title in hopes that he does resign with the company? That's the only thing throwing me off. I'm going based off simply creative. Daniel Bryan wins, easy in for Sami Zayn. AJ Styles wins, doesn't really matter what Sami Zayn does or not. I want Zayn to come back and finish the storyline that WWE took from him because he refused to come to work. Moving on here, man. Naomi actually broke her silence on social media on where she's been. Naomi made a return to WWE in the 2020 Royal Rumble match, and she disappeared. Everybody wanted to know where she was. Everybody was excited that she returned in the Royal Rumble. Now she's just trying to figure things out. Naomi appeared on Twitter when she addressed her current status this week. She hasn't been posting much recently because she's been down about all the things going on in the world. She's also helping her husband, Jimmy Uso, through his injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the year. She says this, and I quote, "I haven't been posting much of myself lately because I've just been down about all the things that are going on in the world today, helping my husband through his injury and trying to figure out my next step. It's been a lot to process lately, but today I woke up feeling hopeful and ready to rock." So hopefully WWE brings Naomi back to WWE TV, because I do think that she has a lot to offer in the women's division, which right now is at a stalemate on both shows. WWE should absolutely, especially now with the world climate, utilizing somebody as influential as Naomi. They should be doing that, but they are not. But right now she's got a reason to be home because her husband is home. Her husband is really hurt. So we'll see what happens with that. But she did break her silence and wanted everybody to know that she's thinking of plans to come back to WWE TV. Paige thinks that the Women's Tag Team Championships have been thrown under the rug. Honestly, I thought she was a bimbo. But here we are. She's making sense. They have been thrown under the rug. But I further question this statement by Paige and ask and refute, why were the titles made to begin with if WWE had no plans for the tag team titles? You had no teams. You had teams when this started off, but now you look at the situation in WWE, there are none. So why are the tag team championships necessary on WWE TV? You're just making a mockery out of them. WWE introduced the Women's Tag Team Championships. Many fans felt the titles have not been treated the same since their introduction to the company. You can add Paige to that list of people who believe that the titles are absolutely irrelevant on WWE TV. She talked about this on Tuesday's episode of Backstage on FS1. She was with a panel of usuals on Backstage. She discussed Bayley and Sasha Banks currently holding the women's tag team titles after winning them from Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross on last week's episode of SmackDown. She says, and I quote, "I just feel like the tag team championships haven't been utilized to their full potential, considering everyone that's had them." Then Paige brought up the fact that she was manager of Asuka and Kairi Sane and the Kabuki Warriors while they had the titles before Asuka turned on her by spitting mist in her face. She says, and I quote, "I feel like they're not being defended. I don't think they've been used right. They've kind of been thrown under the rug. They're not being taken very seriously. I just feel like at some point they have to be taken seriously because this is such a big moment for the women's division to have these tag team titles instead of having just one championship." Does she watch the show? Now we have a tag team division and we could utilize so many tag teams we have, even down in NXT or up on Raw and SmackDown or something. She goes on to continue and say that while Bayley and Banks are good and solid, WWE should try and build some other people. Build who? Build the Iconics? The Moronics? The Idiotics? What the fuck are the Tag Team Championships going to do on the Iconics? They are absolutely worse off on the Iconics than they would be on nobody. Give me a break. On what planet, on what fucking planet is the Iconics being the tag team champions of WWE in the women's division good? Do they bring any value to the tag team championships? Excuse me, I might be off base here, but shouldn't the characters have value or some sort of fucking value to bring that value to said championship? Whereas the Iconics have nothing. The Iconics have nothing. So what exactly are they supposed to do for the tag team championships? Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross? Yeah, Alexa has value. She's the management's favorite blonde. Of course she has fucking value. But what exactly does that value mean? And how does it translate to the women's tag team titles? And what exactly do you mean, Paige? They haven't been defended. They haven't been used right. They've been swept under the rug. They're not being taken seriously. Such a big moment for the women's division. We have a tag team division, and we can utilize so many tag teams we have. Who? Out of the tag teams that you have are Monday and Friday right now on the main roster, what division do you have? I'll wait for your answer. You'll be there for a very long time. All of the division is actually in the triple threat match on Sunday at Backlash. So please elaborate on what division exists outside of those three teams. Whose fault is it? It's WWE. It's WWE's fault. Instead of building the fucking tag team championships as something meaningful with Sasha and Bayley, they took them off of Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania, which prompted Sasha Banks and broke the camel's back, the straw that broke the camel's back on her leaving for the entire summer because she was so fucking pissed off that she was being treated the way she was treated and the women's division was being treated the way it was being treated. Instead of building the titles on Bayley and Sasha all of 2019, taking it to NXT, spotlighting more women that haven't been given the spotlight, you put them on the Iconics to have them waste away with no plans. Whose fault is that? It's WWE's fault. Whose fault is it that WWE broke up Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville? Whose fault is it that WWE broke up Tamina and Nia Jax? Whose fault is it that WWE did nothing with Asuka and Kairi Sane? Nothing. All of your teams are gone. The Kabuki Warriors are gone. The Samoan Connection, God forbid we see them on TV again, together, gone. Mandy Rose, Fire and Desire, Sonya Deville, gone. So what tag teams do you have? The titles need to be eradicated. That's the best thing for the women's division. And by the way, Paige, we don't have just one championship in WWE. We have three. We have three women's championships. So maybe you lost count. Or maybe you just don't know simple addition and mathematics here. There's not one championship. There is three. Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So pardon me when I say the women's tag team championships are overkill. They should be abolished from WWE television. Give me a break. Paige sticking up for what's right because it's feminism, because it's women's rights. Give me a break. Next feud for Bray Wyatt revealed on SmackDown. At Backlash, Strowman will defend against The Miz and Morrison in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I know which match I'm taking a bathroom break during. Ringside News is reporting that Bray Wyatt's return isn't too far off as he's set to reignite his feud with Braun Strowman leading up to SummerSlam. It is unclear whether Strowman versus Wyatt will take place at Extreme Rules or even SummerSlam, but we do know that Wyatt is now headed towards Strowman as the Fiend. So that's that. If this report is correct, we could see Wyatt return next weekend at the Backlash, or this weekend rather, at the Backlash pay-per-view, after Strowman defeats The Miz and Morrison in a 2-on-1 handicap match, or even the post-Backlash episode of SmackDown that will take place on June 19. So this is what they should have did from the get-go. Strowman doesn't need to defend the title against The Miz and John Morrison. They could have kept him and the title off of this and brought Bray Wyatt back on Friday or on Sunday to do something with Strowman. Friday on the post-show for Backlash and build towards the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And then WWE could have built a new feud going into SummerSlam. God forbid we got to see Strowman all fucking summer in May, June, July, and then in August against Bray Wyatt. Who the fuck asked for that on television? Bray Wyatt lost to Braun Strowman as Bray Wyatt. Great. Clearly he didn't beat The Fiend. There's a story there to include The Fiend now. Bray Wyatt and JoJo just had a new child. So they welcomed to this world their new child. So Bray Wyatt has a reason for being off television. Why does Braun Strowman need to be on television? Everything that Braun Strowman does, he actively makes the show worse. So why do we need to include The Miz and Morrison in a makeshift feud that we know they're not going to win at this pay-per-view for the simple fact of getting them on the show? Should have been off this show. He should have been brought back in July for Extreme Rules, and then he should have dropped the title to Bray Wyatt Extreme Rules while Bray Wyatt goes on to somebody else, much more worthy of being in the main event of SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. As usual, WWE doing everything backwards. Mustafa Ali, he vented that he's not being used on TV. Took him long enough. It's widely assumed that Ali and Chad Gable are behind these videos of the SmackDown hacker, and that would explain why they're off TV for so long. However, Gable is now back on SmackDown, and Ali has been nowhere to be seen. Fan tweeted about Ali having the easiest job since he hasn't been on TV in several months. Ali seemed to take issue with this tweet and said, "Yeah, man, it's real nice to be in your prime and wanting to use exposure or the exposure you get to bring light on serious topics, but instead you're forced to sit on the sidelines for reasons beyond your control. Real nice to not be allowed to do what you're passionate about. You think he's pissed? I would say so. Bruce? Where is he, Bruce? We haven't even seen the hacker on TV. Did you drop that one too? Ali appeared on a few dark matches and live events in early February, but hasn't seen the light of day on Friday Night SmackDown since January 1st. Oh my goodness, bro. Salrex, get that fucking milk cart ready, bro. Ali is one of the most well-liked people in the WWE locker room and is considered to be one of the best workers in the company, so hopefully Creative will find something to do for him soon. Unreal. I got no words. Finally, guys, Matt Riddle. Riddle me this, bro. How long before WWE buries you on Friday night, bro? Matt Riddle talks about fans thinking he will be buried on Friday night. So he said this. He was actually, I don't know where he said this, but obviously everybody knows he's moving from NXT to SmackDown. There are some fans like me thinking that Vince McMahon will bury Matt Riddle. I mean, with the move now of Paul Heyman being ousted from WWE Creative, there's no hope for Matt Riddle. Not only do people remember the history of how McMahon has used NXT stars, but also because Riddle's character and look is not what Vince McMahon typically goes for. However, Riddle is confident that he won't be buried. He expressed himself and his belief about this look back on his past challenges with other bosses. He says this. I think it was on social media. I don't know where he was stated saying this, but he says this, and I quote, I hear people say, oh, he's just going to get buried, but I'll tell you this, nobody's been able to bury me yet, and that includes Dana White. So I doubt WWE is going to bury me. They've given me everything I could ask for, so right now, if anyone is going to bury me, it'll be me burying myself, and that is not going to happen. I won't do that. So honestly, I love this transition. This is going to be amazing, and it's just going to be the beginning of a very bright future. That's what Matt Riddle had to say. He's more confident than I think all of the WWE fans on social media collectively combined. I hope he is right. Because if WWE fucks up Matt Riddle, there is absolutely no hope for anybody else following him up from NXT. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up down below. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys missed any of the content that I uploaded this week, including Raw, AEW, NXT, go and check it out. I'll see you guys tonight for SmackDown, as always, when we talk about the Jeff Hardy Sheamus situation and what WWE does moving forward with the IC title. We'll talk about it tonight on Off the Script as soon as the show goes off the air. But thank you guys so much. Let's try for 2,000 thumbs up on this video, man. Big topics of Paul Heyman and Bruce Prichard. Paul Heyman out of Monday Night Raw Creative. SmackDown and Raw now overseen by Bruce Prichard. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Until then, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you tonight for SmackDown on Off the Script.